Hello, I'm Nicole Alexander. I'd like to thank the Sydney Mechanics School of Arts and the Thomas Keneally Centre for providing this forum for authors such as myself. I'd also like to thank Gleebooks for hosting today's event. The Mechanics School of the Arts is the oldest lending library in Australia. They first started in 1833 and they're well worth a visit when you're next in Sydney. They're located in Pitt Street. I write pastoral historical fiction. I've been writing for about 10 years now, novels. Before that, I was writing poetry, travel articles and short stories. This year, I'm halfway through my 9th novel. In talking very briefly about my writing life, I also have to touch on my rural heritage because both are intertwined. I grew up on my family's rural property northwest of Moree on the Queensland border. My great-grandfather selected our property in 1893. When he first went to that spot, he actually chose a site for the homestead near the banks of a creek. He pegged out a hut and built a fairly simple structure. I would imagine that they would have spent their days shepherding the sheep which they'd overlanded from the east, from another property, cutting timber and erecting fences. And I would have thought that the days and nights would have been equally long, the monotony only broken by the monthly arrival of the postal and supply rider who delivered mail and other essentials to those remoter settlers. One thing that was delivered all those years ago was a copy of Alexander Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo. And that book arrived wrapped in brown paper and string inside a saddlebag on the back of a pack horse. I see him reading that book by the light of a flickering candle, perhaps sitting beneath a fat, lazy moon, with the bush stretching out around him in this engulfing silence. I heard that story and many more when I was a child, and that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with our pastoral history. Because I write historical novels, I'm a great researcher. And when I begin researching, I always read very widely on the subject matter, both fiction and non-fiction. I utilise state libraries, both physical information and online. And once I've decided on an actual period and location, I then really delve in towards family histories as well as local histories as well. Now, that type of information can really provide you with a wealth of knowledge, I guess, when it comes to constructing your narrative and giving your characters a great sense of time and place. My latest novel, An Uncommon Woman, which came out last year, was actually based on an idea I got from an online search on Trove using the National Library's online database service. I typed in 3 keywords, Queensland, pastoral and 1930s, and up popped a headline in the Tasmanian Examiner of all places, stating that a woman based in Queensland had bought a rural property. That actually got me thinking about Australia in the 1930s, which is when my lead character, Edwina, actually purchases the property, and when our real life heroine as well purchased hers. It made me think about Australia in the context of world history. We'd just gone through the Great War, the recession, we're about to head into a depression, and there were a lot of men heading out to the bush in search of work. It was a time when we had people such as the great pastoralist Sir Sidney Kidman consolidating his line of pastoral properties through the centre of Australia. So it was very much a man's world, and yet here was this woman laying claim to a remote rural property. You can see your ideas can come from anywhere. It's all about reading widely on your chosen subject and waiting for that pearl of information to take hold. Best of luck with your writing endeavours.